Halloween is a key event in the UK theme park calendar. For years, theme parks have hosted major scare events featuring scare mazes, scare zones, shows and rides in the dark, and every year they grow more and more popular. With Halloween on the horizon, I wanted to explore the history of Halloween at the Merlin theme parks, as the company hosts the 3 key theme park Halloween events in the country. All 4 theme parks have a Halloween event, however my focus in this video is off of Legoland, as this scare event is nowhere near the scale of the other 3 parks. Halloween events at the Merlin parks can be centred back to 2002. Chessington had traces of a Halloween event before this year, similarly with Alton Towers, hosting their smaller scare event Spooktacular in the years leading up to 2002, but this year saw the transformation of the Spooktacular into a proper scare event. Thorpe Park introduced Fright Nights, and Chessington introduced Halloween Hocus Pocus. Legendary scare attraction designer Linton V. Harris was tasked with designing 4 scare mazes across the 3 parks, those being Terror in the Towers at Spooktacular, the Freezer and Freak Show at Thorpe Park, and Pirate Jack's Halloween Adventure at Halloween Hocus Pocus. Spooktacular was praised in its first year for Terror in the Towers, as it utilised the inside of the tower's ruins. While it wasn't perfect, it was still well received by the public. The same can be said for Fright Nights, which had one of the most iconic mazes in the Freezer in its opening year. Regardless of the less intense Freak Show maze and the unsuccessful Scare Zone that featured, the event was still a hit. Chessington's Halloween Hocus Pocus wasn't as well received, however, with a clear focus on family experience. The event featured family shows and walkthroughs, which disappointed compared to the other parks' events. In 2003, little difference was seen at the events. Terror in the Towers at Alton Towers was renamed to Terror of the Towers Bloodfest Banquet and had some smaller changes inside. The Freezer at Thorpe Park was also changed slightly, and Freak Show remained the same. The 4D cinema hosted a new show named Horror Movie Bites, which presented a series of horror film clips. Chessington didn't see any major adjustments either, mainly just new decorations. 2004 followed suit, with Spooktacular being cancelled due to legal concerns over the sound levels caused by their later events like Halloween and fireworks. Fright Night saw no new mazes for the 3rd year in a row, and instead welcomed a new show into the 4D cinema. Halloween Hocus Pocus was the most promising event of that year, as it saw improved decoration and a focus on family experience rather than scares. Chessington also welcomed Scooby-Doo to the lineup, with children able to meet the characters around the park. 2005 still saw no event at Alton Towers, and the return of a similar event at Chessington, with no new additional experiences to the park's ride lineup. Thorpe Park, however, saw 2 new attractions, but these had more negative reviews than previous mazes. The first new maze, Hellgate, wasn't that impressive, and the second new maze, Asylum, was coined as a replica of the Freezer. As well as this, a new show called A False Sense of Security was introduced, but damages to the screen meant that the film didn't last for the entire event. The event also introduced an annual pass holder event, which was structured as a ghost walk around the outskirts of the park. However, this didn't last very long at the event and didn't return for the following year in 2006, which saw no new addition to Halloween Hocus Pocus and no real event at Alton Towers, which saw one small scare attraction inside the hotel named Room 13. Thorpe Park, however, saw a new maze called 7 enter the lineup, but again lacked its scares. Spooktacular at Alton Towers was the highlight of 2007, which kicked off with a new identity as Scarefest. With Thorpe Park and Chessington keeping their events essentially the same, Alton Towers had come out of their legal issues and returned with a bang. Terror of the Towers and Room 13 returned to the event alongside new attractions in the hotel, those being a Field of 1,000 Screams and the Scare Rooms. As well as this, the park incorporated their new for 2007 attraction Haunted Hollow into the event, which featured actors and family scares. Both Thorpe Park and Alton Towers added a new maze to their lineups for 2008, with Fright Nights claiming The Curse and Scarefest claiming Boiler House, which replaced Room 13. Chessington began to change existing attractions for Halloween Hocus Pocus in 2008, with Hocus Pocus Hall becoming Bewitched. 2009 finally saw an additional scare maze come to Chessington in the form of Black Forest Haunt, which ran down the pathway between Vampire and Black Buccaneer. While Scarefest was virtually the same except for some improvements to existing attractions, Thorpe Park saw a live actor experience to celebrate the opening of Saw the Ride in the same year, named Saw the Ride Live. This was extended in 2010 with Saw Alive, which was open to guests all year round. Towers did a similar attraction to Saw the Ride live at Scarefest 2010 to tie in with the opening of 13, as well as introducing a new maze named Carnival of Screams to replace the Field of 1,000 Screams, which was opened to mixed reactions. While Chesington's event remained mostly the same, it was the best it had appeared in years. 2011 saw new attractions at all three parks. Scarefest saw two of their existing mazes, Carnival of Screams and Boiler House, moved into the Black Hole tent after the coaster's removal, and a new scare zone named Zombies was introduced, which was a hit amongst guests. As well as this, the Freaky Five characters were introduced to target a younger audience. Fright Night saw the replacement of the classic Hellgate with the new Experiment 10 maze. Halloween Hocus Pocus saw its first scare maze named Crypt, located within the newly opened Wild Asia area. It was an exciting time for the Halloween events in the Merlin parks, as their rapid development would continue in years to follow. 2012 saw new mazes at Scarefest and Fright Night, those being the Sanctuary, which hinted towards the theme of the Smiler, which would open in 2013, and the Passing, which would replace 7 after 7 years of the lineup. I wonder if that was intentional. Chesington also revamped one of their scare zones, Black Forest Haunt, into Vampire Haunting in the Hollows, which tied in nicely with its Transylvania setting. 2013 continued improvements at Chesington, with Hocus Pocus Hall receiving another overlay, this time as the Mystery of Hocus Pocus Hall. While Scarefest had no major changes, Thorpe Park Fright Nights had a complete overhaul and rebrand. After a licensing deal introduced 3 new mazes themed to Hollywood movies, including The Cabin in the Woods, The Blair Witch Project and My Bloody Valentine, the park lost some of its classic mazes such as The Curse and Experiment 10, along with The Passing. While these mazes were lost, 2013 marked a new era for the Fright Nights event. 2014 saw Halloween Hocus Pocus at Chesington renamed as Halloween. However, no new mazes or scare zones were added, and instead, 2 new shows debuted. The Alton Towers maze lineup was reduced when Carnival of Screams was removed but not replaced. Instead, the park introduced a new scare zone named Scary Tales, along with a new sleepover event inside of the towers and an iconic dance show named Alton Ancestors. Fright Night saw the end of its longest serving maze, Asylum, in this year, but was replaced by Studio 13, linking in with the movie theme from the previous year. This maze was a fan favourite, as it was intense and highly themed. Thorpe struggled to maintain this in 2015 with the opening of the Big Top, which is now widely known as one of, if not the best maze Thorpe Park have ever created. However, in its first year it was quite disappointing, and with the removal of Studio 13 to make way for the I'm a Celebrity maze, as well as the introduction of an expensive upcharge attraction named Containment, 2015 was a disappointing year for Fright Nights. The same couldn't be said for Scarefest, however, as it saw 2 new mazes and 2 new scare zones. Subspecies The End Games was the most intense maze experience ever at a Merlin park, featuring intense scares and physical touch from the actors. While this was contrasted in The Haunting of Molly Crow, which was a hooded maze, the event was still the best in the country. Chesington's Halloween also had a major update, with 2 existing attractions replaced by 2 new ones, those being The Curse of the Lost Tomb and Trick or Treat Wood. Scarefest retained the title for the best Halloween event in the UK in 2016 with the introduction of 2 more new mazes, those being Altonville Mine Tours and House of Monsters, as well as Freak Show, another new scare zone. While Thorpe Park introduced Platform 15 to celebrate Fright Night's 15th anniversary to replace My Bloody Valentine, it severely underperformed. The highlight of the 15th Fright Nights was the relocation and improvement of the Big Top, which was easily the strongest maze of the park. Chesington's Halloween remained the same for this year. 2017 saw more major changes to Fright Nights, with the removal of the last 2 movie-themed mazes, which were replaced by 2 brand new Walking Dead-themed mazes due to the park's licensing deal with AMC. Alton Towers added another major attraction to their Scarefest lineup in the form of The Welcoming, which was themed to their new for 2018 wooden roller coaster Wicker Man. Halloween also saw some major changes, with the introduction of the first major scare maze in the form of Creepy Caves Unearthed, which was incredibly well received by the public and widely considered as one of the best scare mazes Merlin has ever produced. 2018 finally saw the end of Terror of the Towers, the longest serving scare maze in Merlin's history at Scarefest, lasting a grand total of 15 years at the park. However, this was replaced by Project 42, which was located in the previous Nemesis Subterra building and highly regarded by the public. Thorpe Park also introduced the Year of the Walking Dead into their seasonal operation, which impacted Fright Nights. The park seemed to burn themselves out with this year, adding too many mazes and shows which lacked in quality. The park introduced 2 new attractions in with the previous year's lineup, those being Dead Creek Woods and Vulcan Peak, which is widely regarded as the worst maze in the park's history, alongside bringing back the Blair Witch Maze. To add salt to the wound, the Big Top left the park, and this became so incredibly evident. To avoid this style of disappointment, Chessington kept Halloween the exact same in 2018. This changed the following year in 2019, however, when the Curse of the Lost Tomb was replaced by spiders, which operated alongside creepy caves. Both Thorpe and Towers introduced new mazes in 2019, with Thorpe opening Creek Freak Massacre, their most intense maze yet, alongside a more streamlined offering following the failure of the previous year. Towers brought back their Terror of the Towers story in the form of the Attic, as well as opening Darkest Depths, a new themed family maze, to replace House of Monsters. The pandemic in 2020 meant that Halloween events across the country had to be tweaked slightly. Fright Nights at Thorpe Park saw the biggest changes, seeing the removal of its indoor attractions and shifting focus towards outdoor mazes and scare zones. Creek Freak Massacre did not return in its main form and instead saw actors from the maze unleashed on the rest of the park. Containment was removed and Roots of Evil joined the lineup, alongside a new scare zone named The Crows, which became a fan favourite. Scarefest also changed for 2020, introducing the new maze Freak Show Toxic Junkyard, extending the story of the scare zone that existed at the park a few years prior. A new lights walk in the gardens was also included in the event's offering that year. Chessington introduced the Forgotten Forest, another outdoor attraction. 2021 maintained Thorpe Park's focus on scare zones and shows, as well as introducing a new indoor maze called Trailers. Creek Freak Massacre also rejoined the lineup, resulting in the beginning of Thorpe's recovery from the pandemic. The Towers lineup didn't change much, introducing a new children's scare attraction named Trick or Treat Town, and Chessington expanded Halloween to feature some new scare zones and shows. The following year didn't provide much change for Halloween, but the same can't be said for Thorpe Park and Alton Towers, which both saw new audio-based scare attractions which weren't well received with the public. Thorpe Park opened a new maze alongside their audio attraction, however, in the form of Survival Games, which was considered as one of Thorpe's best ever mazes and acted as a worthy replacement for Platform 15, which did not return in 2022. 2023 saw the end of Creepy Caves at Chessington and was replaced by Enchanted Hollow, a more family-orientated attraction, alongside the opening of the Pumpkin Patch, returning Halloween back to its original family theme. Fright Nights expanded yet again, opening Stitches, another maze that is considered as one of the best in the event's history, alongside Trailers and Survival Games and the supporting scare zones. Unfortunately, Scarefest had a complete decline in this year and confirmed its positioning behind Thorpe Park in the scare event rankings. New for 2023 was Daz Games Panic, alongside the return of Altonville Mine Tours, The Attic, Darkest Depths, Trick or Treat Town and The Invitation, the terrible audio attraction from 2022. 2024 aimed to improve this lineup with the opening of Compound, a maze themed to the newly renovated Nemesis. However, the event is apparently still lacking. While Chessington's Halloween remained the same, Fright Nights opened yet another maze, this time named Deadbeat, which is another strong addition to the lineup. Moving out of the 2024 season, Thorpe Park is certainly in prime position as the best scare event in the UK. However, it is evident that this title has fluctuated between Thorpe and Tower since 2002. What's been your favourite attraction at Merlin scare events? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching this time, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.